Yeah.
And dick skin.
And Degens. Welcome to Movie Pain or Pleasure Podcast, the show where we mostly talk about movies, but sometimes talk about TV shows, which is what we're doing for this episode. I'm your co-host, Melanie, and oh, look, I have that little bottle of Jack Daniels that I had from our last episode. I wonder how this got here. So we are talking about season 11 of Letterkenny, a Canadian comedy that is on Hulu. We've seen every season. We love the show. So this is just a reaction to what we liked and didn't like so much about this season.
Also, it is totally not a Hulu original. They should stop putting that up.
Yeah, it's from Crave.
Yeah.
So-
Y'all bought it. That's not an original.
It doesn't
if you
mean it's a
bought
Hulu original. So
Jackasses.
I'm going to come talk to you, Hulu.
Fucking Degens.
Okay, yeah, they're a bunch of Degens. So we've established I'm a Degen because in one of our last episodes I'd said I'd rather live in Nova Scotia Sunnyvale Trailer Park than in Letterkenny in Ontario. So I'm a Degen from upcountry. All right, so we'll just go through the 6 episodes and talk a little bit about what happened and what we liked and what we didn't like and our overall review
And
of...
how other people are reacting.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I liked it. I always like Letterkenny. I did not like season 9. That was their post-pandemic season, so I'm going to kind of give them a pass on that. Everything was weird. Everybody's work was weird after the pandemic. Season 10 was amazing. I loved it. It made me really miss living in a small rural town, which is where I grew up. So this one kind of gives me that same feeling of they didn't go to big issues that were happening. They just had little small town problems, and I really like that. So the first episode is just called episode 1, and the whole thing is a fishbowl discussion about chips. And what makes it so funny is how serious they get in their arguments about chips and the way some of them are just holding in their emotions, and they're so passionate about barbecue versus sour cream and onion, and it was really funny.
A couple of flavors us Americans aren't really even aware of.
Well, they did talk about ketchup. Ketchup chips are a thing in Canada.
The best chip is still Pringles loaded baked potato, but whatever. They brought up Pringles, actually, and they talked about how you couldn't call it a chip.
It's a
Or
crisp.
something. It's a crisp. Because there's not a potato in it to call it a potato chip.
It was really funny, and you see some of the characters' idiosyncrasies. Like Gail was the facilitator, and she would do her snaky, wavy movements whenever she would introduce
The floor
people.
is open.
Yes. And so the side story was Glenn at the gym with Riley and Jonesy, the hockey players, and the 2 gay guys.
And then just be like... Basically, the whole chunk of their episode was like, Glenn, are you gay? I ain't gay. I just love looking at big cocks.
For Finspo! So that was...
It gets me pumped.
Yes. So the second episode, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Okoya? And it was about 2 things. They start out with a pretty good roast of movie tropes, which I really liked that. Sometimes that was the cold opening of Katie and the boys sitting at the table talking about movie tropes that they hate. And you see that play out in the episode where there's a bake sale theft. And so Glenn brings everybody to the church and they kind of talk through and figure out who stole the money from the bake sale. And it was cute. I liked the idea. I felt like it dragged out just a little too long because sometimes they will ride jokes hard into the ground.
Yeah.
They didn't do it quite. They didn't go that far on this episode, but I just got bored.
There are some times I feel like I'm not well versed enough in things to understand a lot of the jokes. Like, Letterkenny sometimes makes me feel dumb because I don't understand, like, they're referencing books or authors or films, or a lot of the time it's athletes of some sort. But I think there was a lot of that happening in here. Like, they were referencing particular mystery books and movies.
Oh, Agatha Christie novels.
And something on a train. Bunch of different things like that. So, yeah.
So you didn't get the references.
Yeah,
That's
sometimes. Okay. I still enjoyed it, but yeah, it does seem to drag just a little bit.
That episode just seemed to drag. So the third episode was called Lost Dog, and it was about somebody who lost a dog. And that's what I kind of like about the show, that it's just simple, small town stuff. Not a big dog person. I did like that they brought back the Dick family, played by J-Rock from Trailer Park Boys. He gets a lot of play in this season. He's in this episode. He's in the influenza episode. He might be in one of the other ones, but they bring him back, and of course they have all the dick jokes in it. So that was pretty funny. And then
it did feel like it should have been like dedicated to some sort of animal foundation. Like there was a lot of them talking about how you find a lost dog and how you approach a lost dog and all these different things. And I feel like y'all were doing this for an organization of some kind, but you just didn't get that like 90s at the end of the cartoon show like donate to and don't let people do
they should have had Sarah McLachlan do one of those commercials with the animals in the shelter. She's Canadian. Yeah. So the fourth episode was called Nudes, and it was about a mystery where somebody was sending nudes of Gaylor around town.
Okay.
And Bonnie McMurray and Katie were really mad about it.
It did end the way I expected it to. So
how?
With Gail just being like, yeah, I know.
I sent it out.
I let him.
So I think that was probably my least favorite episode because it was funny, but it was just kind of meh.
I was mostly cool with it, and you get like, not like this is a huge thing, but you get some perspectives on different characters, male characters specifically, because they go and interrogate all the men in town, and you get their reactions to like, well, no, of course I wouldn't do that. I mean, maybe in a certain sort of particular situation, but no, not in this one. And you get a little bit of the McMurrays.
Yeah.
And Dickskin.
And Dickskin. I wish I lived in a town small enough where these issues were issues. You know what I mean? Like, I live in a big city, so our things are like, what's the mayor funding
and is the power grid gonna work?
Is the power grid gonna work? So I kind of wish I lived in a small town where everybody, there's the nudes of somebody going around and everybody's in on the story, or there's a lost dog and everybody's in on the mystery, or there's a bake sale at the church and everybody goes even if they don't go to that church. I miss things like that. So number 5 is called Influenzas, and I think this is one of my favorite ones. It was where influencers came in and they wanted to take cute shots for their weddings in, Wayne's barn or out in front of the farmhouse. And so it was just Katie being annoyed and kind of nonplussed with everybody, but taking advantage of them.
Yeah, but also trying to game the system, and then the McMurrays trying to game the system, and then the Dicks trying to game the system.
Yeah,
and everyone like kind of fucking each other over, except for the Dicks. The Dicks just naturally fuck people over, but they don't mean to.
They don't mean to. They're Mennonites. So I liked it because it makes fun of all these people who are the Instagrammable influencers and kind of basic. So the people in Letterkenny are not impressed by that.
I think maybe this is the time in society where we're sort of curving back away from that shit that's been everywhere for the last 10 almost years.
Basic bitch stuff?
Like the influence and influencer types and the rich people types trying to tell everybody what to do, because in our last video we talked a lot about 2 different movies that are amazing, but also they take the piss out of people that are in high places and shit, and this one kind of does also, just the facade bullshit. They make fun of it the whole time, so yeah, maybe, hopefully, we're pulling back from that as a society. So.
Number 6, the final episode was called Degens. And it's mainly about a Degen named Jivin Pete who's going around telling lies about everybody in town. And what I like the most about this episode, it has a good scrap. They haven't had a good knockdown, drag out scrap in 2 seasons. It's been a while. They used to have good fights all the time.
I can't remember a particular one since Dirk.
And that was season 8, I think. Or
there was Dirk, and then there was the French Canadian wedding party thing.
Oh yeah, when Wayne was being cheated on.
Yeah. And
oh no, the party though, we don't fight at weddings. That was different.
Yeah,
that was after.
It was
that.
After. Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't at the thing, but
yeah,
it was around that. Anyway. Yeah. So I think this is one episode where I get the complaints, because it was a fun episode and everything, and it had the usual morals. You try to help a friend when he asks for help, and then also you don't fucking act like a degen. But I get people's complaints that this could have been a progressing story all the way through the season. If they set it up in episode 1, and it was sort of part of the season every episode, just a little bit, and then it would have a big moment at the end. I get it, but also, Letterkenny isn't always like this overarching story. Several seasons are just episodic silliness, and that's fine. I don't get, like, how everybody freaked the fuck out about this season.
There was also some criticism, and I think there was some merit to it, that they've created so many characters that you lose some of the main characters. So Glenn was in 2 episodes. Tanis, it was in one episode.
And even then, she didn't have a great big role.
She didn't really do much. And I don't know if maybe the actress personally had some other commitment and she just couldn't do it or what. But and then also we felt like Squirrely Dan was kind of downplayed.
Yeah.
There were some moments where he could do his scary, screamy outbursts, and
I wanted
him to do that so badly in the Chips episode.
He's hilarious when he gets pissed.
In the Chips episode,
they specifically cut away from his shot to do that, and that fucking bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, these are small things to pick at. What they didn't do, which is I think what they did in season 9, which again, pandemic, grasping at straws. They didn't drive jokes and wordplay into the ground like they have in the past.
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
part of their shtick, but sometimes too much is too much.
Sometimes it's almost like they're daring each other with how far they can go, and everybody just has to deal with the ride. Mm-hmm. But there's something to be said about editing, so
yeah,
it's fine. It's like maybe that makes the other times worth it. Like maybe having some jokes that it's like, okay, we're going all the way.
We're going there like those
Maybe
Saturday Night Live skits that just go on too long.
Yeah, maybe that makes the next one, worth sitting around.
Maybe.
So, but, yeah, okay. So, good season. Not the best season.
Fair.
Not the worst season. But, I just don't get... I guess I don't understand what people's concept of the show is in their mind, that now they're all of a sudden they're like, I fucking hated this season. They ruined it by the end. Okay. The finale, I get confusion. I don't get anger. Like, Jonesy is having a birthday party.
Ah, yes.
And the gang doesn't go, which feels, because they were invited, it feels like a rude thing that the gang wouldn't do because, they were invited by a friend. They should go and...
Needs help, you help him.
But they were very nonplussed after that fight for some reason.
Yeah, so a little bit of context. That was my one kind of ending on a disappointed note, was they have this big knockdown drag-out fight, and before that, Jonesy, or Riley, I can't remember which one, had invited them to his birthday party at the bar, and so the Hicks go, and they get in the fight, and it goes back to the birthday party at the bar, everybody's having fun, and we get a shot of Wayne, Derry, Dan, and Katie sitting in front of the produce stand, just chilling with cigarettes and beer, and maybe it was like too cool for school. I don't know. Like they just had this huge fight, so maybe they just wanted to chill.
I saw some thoughts online that it was because of what the fight was about that made them like maybe just depressed after instead of feeling triumphant or something.
It was because the guy was telling lies.
No, because it was like, I guess, you try to help somebody because you think they're trying to do something for themselves to better themselves, and they used to be your friend, and then they show you that, they're... Oh, well, okay, 2 things. They show you that maybe they're not trying as hard to be a better person as you thought, and also maybe you were part of the problem.
I just don't have friends, so I avoid all of these problems.
Well, the way Wayne got rid of him before he started walking around telling lies, maybe Wayne feels a little guilty.
Yeah, because the guy had tried to work on the farm, and Wayne just rode him hard and criticized him, and then he ultimately fired him, and he didn't really give him a chance.
Well, I mean, he gave him a week, but and he came in every day late or drunk or both or stoned, and you can't give someone help forever, but and I'm sure they will expand upon this in the next season, as long as there is another season, like they did with Dirk. Like, when they beat the shit out, like, we knew the fight was coming. But okay, so we get the final shot of that season. They're going to beat the fuck out of that dude. And then we don't see what happened around that for like 6 more episodes the next season. The pacing in the show is weird. It's strange.
And that's part of the show.
It's very Letterkenny, so it's cool, but my god is it weird. So I'm not gonna complain like, oh, there wasn't an overarching story, and sometimes you get really great seasons, sometimes you get just good seasons.
At least this was a good season. I wonder if the same people who really hated this season are the same ones who said, oh yeah, Shoresy is so much better than Letterkenny. I don't want to get into Shoresy.
Look, Shoresy won us over by the last episode.
But it took the last episode.
But, were we enjoying ourselves the whole time? No. Also, we don't know shit about hockey.
So,
So that might be like a language barrier. Hockey
Maybe.
doesn't, but by the last episode, it did get us.
And before somebody says, well, you dumb Americans, if they made it about football, you'd like it. No, I don't like football either, so
I'll watch a football movie, show, maybe.
Maybe we need to
I
watch a
don't
hockey
give a
movie.
crap about football,
Okay.
but I won't not watch it.
So, if we were to give this a grade, what would you give it? We usually don't do grades in our episodes, but what would you give this season?
Like, out of 10, like, 6.5, 7
Yeah.
ish.
I was thinking letter grade, like a...
Oh, well, I don't know. Well,
Like a B+.
You give... Same thing. Actually, a B+ is like an 85.
Yeah.
So, whatever, fine. An 8.5 out of 10.
Okay,
I
yeah.
guess.
Pretty decent. Better than 9, not as good as 10. I want to watch season 12. I hope there is a season 12.
Yes.
So,
Also, okay.
yeah.
This is pure speculation and just general, what's the word that I need? Empathy from viewers. But Bonnie McMurray, the actress, could someone just make sure she's okay?
We just want to know that she's okay. If you know what we're talking about, you know.
Like, I'll just say, she's a very pretty woman. She's great. There's nothing, I'm not digging at her. But she used to look quite healthy, and in this season, it seemed like maybe somebody should just check on her. Maybe she's fine. I don't know.
She could be fine, and it's none of our business, but we just want to make sure she's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you want to join our cult and be my victim and be part of our gang, you can watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Discord, listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, and follow us on Instagram at Movie Pain or Pleasure Podcast.
All the things. Don't be a degen unless you're living in Sunnyvale Trailer Park.